Uh, I have always been writing short stories, and I didn't set out to write a collection of short stories. But during the pandemic, during COVID, it was very difficult to make films. It's too cumbersome, too difficult. And so I started writing more stories. And gradually I saw that there was some um, thematic connection or some that the stories, as my editor said, commented on each other. And I had a collection, and so that's how it came to be. Uh, but I think that there is some connection, thematic connection between all the, it's a great, it's kaleidoscope of characters, all different, but they're about fraught encounters between people, different generations, people, different ethnicities, races, um, old and young, different circumstances. For me, it was like a reflection of living in Los Angeles. Well, the accountant was a little bit like my accountant, and I entered the basement garage to get my car once and saw someone fleeting who had been doing someone who I glimpsed, and I just put the two together. I mean, it was a very LA experience to come in and find somebody keying a car, and so it's like that. What's that about? And who would be a good foil for this character? Uh, and I thought a little bit of my uh, Sierra Club bird loving accountant.
What about the middle-aged psychiatrist? Would you introduce us to this gentleman?
This is a middle aged psychiatrist who has spent all his life or his professional life believing that drugs and chemicals are the answer. That's how to fix people. My wife is a therapist, but she's the talk kind of therapist. She's not the biomedical therapist. I know the biomedical therapist, and uh, I thought that the concept that we're all governed just by our what happens in our brain and it's chemical is not a notion I believe in. So again, it's like you're putting together characters who come from different backgrounds. But I also had done a film um, about sexual abuse, and so when you sit down and write, you're not always sure what comes up. But I've had experience in so many of these different areas, and so that seemed it's like, well, child abuse is not something that you can cure with drugs. The trauma of child abuse, and so that's in a way how that came together. A journalist, a freelance journalist, I know how difficult it is. Easy for me to create that character. I have had a regular tennis game with for many many years with the revolving players who and our contact is on the court. We don't really talk about our life. We go to play tennis, and so there's always a question: what's your life really outside of court? So that's in one. You write kind of because you have questions, and you write to discover things, yeah, or through by digging deeper into your own past or by imagining different outcomes. So yeah, I mean, again, I see these as very LA stories. I mean, people coming together from completely different walks of life, uh, connected only by tennis. I think, and it goes back to and even come the morning, where people are drawn here because of the myth of California, because also the sense of possibilities. When I came to California with my wife and I, just very young kids, I came here completely broke. I'd moved here. When I wrote out the check for the moving company, I said to my wife, we better like it here because it's going to be years before we can move anyplace else. Uh, and I fell in love with Los Angeles in the sense of possibilities, but it's also its incredible array of subcultures, and I mean this is not the largest. I mean it's the second largest Chinese speaking city in the country. Spanish. It's you have Los Angeles is just multi-layered richness. Uh, and for many years, I ran the documentary program at USC. My students would, it was like a window into the world. They would make films about everything about, and the students were also multicultural, about the Korean community, about the Armenian community. Um, I learned about the Samoan community. There's almost no community. El Salvadoran community. I have some close friends from El Salvador. That led to another. That led to another story again. So I see it as a world of possibilities. Also, it's a very fraught world. Collisions between these different groups, and so it's a great place to tell stories. And these are stories that are happening all the time.